Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really captivating narrative called Three Friends, One Storm, and the Test of Faith. We're going to unpack a timeless story that digs deep into human psychology, the incredible power of unity, and honestly, the true, often tested nature of our faith. You know, this isn't just some simple tale. It's actually a mirror, reflecting exactly how our minds operate under extreme pressure versus how we behave when we're, well, safe and comfortable. So, get ready, because we are going to break down the actual mechanics of human desperation and rationalization. Let's jump right in.
Why is it that human beings only remember their creator when all other options have failed? Wow, that single question completely sets the stage for our entire analysis today. It's literally the core puzzle of the human condition that our source material exposes so brilliantly. And honestly, it's a question I want you to just keep right in the back of your mind as we watch these events unfold.
To really understand this psychological journey, we first got to look at our subjects. So picture this. Living in a lush green village a long time ago, we have three young men. There's Aman, who's Muslim, Arjun, who's Hindu, and Abraham, who's Christian. Now they prayed differently, and they went to different places of worship, sure. But despite all those differences, they shared this absolutely unbreakable bond. In their village, their friendship was legendary. They completely ignored the boundaries that society, or, narrow-minded gossips tried to build up around them. To these three, the path to the Creator might look different, but at the end of every single path stood shared humanity.
I absolutely love this specific detail from the source material because it just perfectly grounds their unity in everyday life. Take the Eid Firni tradition, for example. Every single year, Aman's mother would whip up this royal, super delicious rice pudding called Firni for the Islamic holiday of Eid. But here's the kicker. The very first two bowls she dished out, they didn't even stay in their house. No, they were sent straight over to Arjun and Abraham's homes. It's such a sweet, tangible symbol of this prejudice-free unity that genuinely impressed all the village elders. It really shows us that their bond wasn't just theoretical, It was something they practiced every single day. Eventually, driven by this shared dream of discovering unknown lands across the ocean, they actually poured their entire life savings into tickets on a massive wooden merchant ship. And the voyage begins like a masterpiece painting. On day one, we're talking calm seas, silver dolphins leaping out of the water, and skies just lit up by millions of stars. It's picture perfect. By day four, they're having these really deep, peaceful discussions about the greatness of their respective beliefs. But then, we hit day 8. Nature, which had been showing its most beautiful face, suddenly prepared to reveal its absolute most terrifying one.
By late afternoon on that 8th day, the sky completely turns into this giant, ominous black blanket. Just try to imagine the sheer chaos for a second. Lightning is tearing through the dark. Massive mountain-sized waves are just violently tossing this huge ship around like a toy. The giant wooden masts snap like dry twigs. And before anyone can even process the panic, a catastrophic wave completely shatters the ship, throwing our three friends right into the dark, freezing, violent ocean. They're left desperately clinging to a single broken wooden plank, their bodies going completely numb, literally staring imminent, unavoidable death right in the face.
And right here, this is exactly where the psychological shift happens. When human effort completely fails, we turn to the divine. Think about it. Science, logic, human strength, basic survival instincts, they're all rendered completely useless against the freezing wrath of the ocean. The three friends realize, right in that moment, that without a miracle, they are only moments away from drowning. Stripped of their egos, stripped of all those grand plans for the future, they are forced to just beg their respective creators for a single, final lifeline. We see this pure desperation build uniquely in each of them, starting with Abraham. Now, Abraham was always known as the most logical and rational guy in the group, but facing the literal abyss, his logic gives way to pure, unfiltered desperation. With trembling lips, he promises his God that if he's just allowed to feel dry land one more time, he will give away half of his entire wealth to build a free charity hospital for the poor and devote the rest of his life to service. That is a massive, life-altering vow made in the absolute face of terror. Next up, we see Arjun's plea. Forcing his freezing hands together toward that stormy sky, he calls out to his deities. And his promise? Equally grandiose. If rescued from this ocean of death, he vows to return to his village and construct a magnificent, totally unprecedented temple topped with a pure gold dome. And on top of that, he promises to host massive feasts to feed thousands of starving people, swearing he'll never stray from the path of righteousness again. It's this intense blend of fear and devotion in a desperate bid for survival.
Finally, we look at Aman. Tears are streaming down his face, his past mistakes literally flashing before his eyes, and he cries out to the Almighty. he promises to completely transform his character. If saved from this watery hell, Aman vows to donate a staggering 2/3 of his earnings to orphans and to building mosques. He promises to live out the rest of his days as a pure, devout Muslim, turning entirely away from all his past flaws. 3 completely different faiths, 3 monumental promises, all united by the exact same human desperation. And then, the impossible happens. First, that terrifying roaring storm just suddenly calms, almost as if commanded by some unseen force. Those towering waves just shrink down into gentle ripples. Second, dawn breaks, and it casts this beautiful, renewed golden light over the water, a sunrise that feels like a literal rebirth for them. And third, right out of that golden mist, a boat appears. A group of poor but incredibly kind local fishermen who are out after the storm spot the 3 exhausted friends. They pull them to safety, wrap their freezing bodies in warm blankets, and share their meager rations of bread and water.
Several hours later, their feet finally touch solid ground. Safe on dry land, totally overwhelmed by disbelief and joy, they immediately prostrate themselves on the earth. They bow in absolute gratitude to their creators. And in that raw emotional moment, with the memory of the freezing ocean still so fresh in their minds, they look at each other and silently renew those life or death vows. They are absolutely determined to return to their village and fulfill those grand promises.
But, okay, here's where things get really interesting. The crucial point of this explainer is understanding this exact psychological shift, the erosion of fear. On one side, in the crisis mentality, we see total desperation, grand promises, and absolute submission. But as the weeks pass back in the safety of their village, the comfort mentality totally takes over. The trauma of the storm starts to fade. It gets replaced by the routine of daily life, everyday financial worries, and the mind starts to rationalize. That sharp, terrifying reality of the crisis becomes a distant, blurry memory. And right along with it, the urgency of their vows begins to completely evaporate.
This brilliantly illustrates the tragic comedy of human rationalization. Just look at their grand storm vows compared with their new comfort reality. Abraham starts thinking about his business and his family, and he decides, you know what? God will totally understand a small church donation instead of building an entire hospital. Arjun convinces himself that a golden dome is just superficial vanity, right? So he settles for lighting 108 lamps and feeding a few Brahmins. Both of them use these incredible mental gymnastics to shrink their grand promises down to whatever is most convenient and cheap for them now that they're safe and comfortable.
But what's perhaps the most fascinating part of all this is Aruman's ultimate betrayal of his vow. One evening, hanging out by the river with his friends, Aruman just casually pulls out a cigarette. When a completely shocked Abraham reminds him of his sacred promise to live a pure life, Aruman simply smiles, this cunning little smile, lights up, and says, "That was just storm talk. Life on land is different. God is merciful and will forgive." With a single puff of smoke, he completely dismisses his profound spiritual awakening as nothing more than a temporary side effect of panic. Wild, right? And that brings us right to the core lesson of our source material today. True faith, true character. It isn't defined by what you promise when you're terrified and clinging to a broken plank in the dark. Not at all. The true test of faith is remaining steadfast in your devotion and your promises when you are safe, comfortable, and no longer in need. The Creator doesn't just listen to the words spoken in panic. The Creator watches the intentions and the actions of the person before, during, and long after the storm has passed. Now, it's incredibly easy for us to sit here and judge Amen, Arjun, and Abraham from the comfort of our screens. But human nature is a really powerful, stubborn thing. We all make desperate bargains when our backs are against the wall, whether it's before a scary medical test or during a tough personal crisis. So as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative challenge, something to reflect on about your own nature. If you were in their shoes, sitting safely by the river weeks after staring death right in the face, honestly,